What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It has been about a year, I think, since I last posted a video. It has been an eventful year. There's been a lot going on, but as you can see, I'm still in Florida. It's very nice, very warm out, loving the weather. But this is not my car. Weird. Okay, so there's my car actually. So the car is still here, still have the cammed RT. Brand new plate now. No more V8 Prius. I felt it fit the car a little bit better. But to make a long story short, what we're going to do today is we are going to compare these two cars. Now, this vehicle, my vehicle, is a 2016 RT. It has a cam, it has a little bit of headwork, it has a whole bunch of upgrades, full bolt-ons basically. And then my buddy's car over here, which he just got about a month and a half ago, is a 2021, right? 2020 Scat Pack. So there are some similarities. They're actually the same color, if you could tell, even though mine's in the garage a little darker, but same color. A lot of very similar things. Not just because of the way that it came from the factory, but also because I've upgraded a couple of things from mine from what comes stock on the Scat Packs. So for example, the 309 rear on mine, same exact thing. The Bilstein suspension, same exact thing. So there should be some similarities between them, but the big draw is going to be the power differences. So this obviously is a 6.4, 392, and they make 485-ish, crank horsepower, somewhere around there, which generally means translates over to about 420, 430 wheel horsepower on the dyno. Some dynos can be a little stingier, some are a little bit better for the numbers, but we'll stick to the 420, 430 numbers stock. Now this car is completely 100% stock. I mean, stock intake, stock headers, stock tires, stock literally everything. This car is brand new. This one, on the other hand, is obviously, like I said earlier, full bolt-ons. I do have the 309 rear. I have the Hellcat exhaust. I have a cam. I have slight headwork. A couple of different things. Now, keep in mind, this car is not quote unquote 100% tuned yet, just because that tune that I originally got from the guy that built the car was a little lackluster, to say the least. I am working with a local shop that is going to retune the car on the dyno coming up. But for now, we're going to work with what we have. When the car was on the dyno, it made a non-weather corrected 432 to the wheels. Again, non-weather corrected Florida weather. It's kind of a toss-up on what it actually makes on like perfect DA weather. But we'll call it 430. So they should be quote unquote on paper, again, very similar power-wise, but you have a 6.4. And that's a much bigger engine. The power delivery is going to be different. The peak torque, the peak horsepower is going to be completely different. My cam is designed to be more of a mid to top end type of powerhouse. This car is obviously more of an across the range type of power. So we're going to definitely see some differences. I do definitely expect for the Scat Pack to be pretty reasonably faster, I'll say. I've raced a couple of Scat Packs, kind of hit or miss. I feel like from the factory, some of them come out being kind of like some factory freaks, because I've had Scat Packs that'll pull a couple cars on me, and I've had Scat Packs that were literally neck and neck. So I'm not sure what that's about, but I definitely expect this car to be, at the very minimum, at least a little bit faster, if not pretty decently fast. That being said, we are going to start with the cammed car. You guys have seen it on the channel before. You guys know what it's about. I am going to be as neutral as I can be, of course. I know these cars very well front and back. I've had about 5 of them, so I know them very, very well. But I'm definitely going to give my opinion on exactly, what I notice, what I don't notice, what the similarities are. But to take away a little bit of the bias that might be involved with everything, we are going to have my buddy, who again owns the Charger, the Scat Pack, drive both of them as well. So we're going to both drive them, see what we both think about them, give some opinions, see exactly, where the differences lie, what the similarities are. And we're going to give you guys a good idea of, what's worth it. Should you spend the 40, some odd $1,000 and get a brand new Scat Pack from the factory, OEM stock, everything the way it comes from the dealer? Or should you buy yourself an RT with some low miles, maybe spend 20, 25,000, put another maybe like 8,000 on top of that, and make some similar numbers on paper as a Scat Pack? Price differences are pretty reasonable, but we'll see. Let's hit the road. All right, guys, so I know I said we would start with the cammed RT, but you know what? We already have the Scatty out here. It's already parked up and ready to go. Mine's in the garage. I closed it down for now because we're gonna hit the road, but let's get a nice note of what the exhaust sounds like stock on a Scat Pack. Now I'm pretty sure that is on stock mode, like the regular setting, just your cruising setting, not on track mode or anything. So the valves should be closed. But yeah, it sounds pretty good for a completely stock car. I mean, you cannot beat that. Like I said, this is completely from the factory, out of the dealer, nothing done to it yet. So let's hit the road. All right, guys, so we are live and on the road. It's a typical Florida day, so there are some spotty showers just kind of here and there. There's blue skies ahead of us, but a little storm cell behind us, so we're trying to see if we can beat the storm out and get a little bit of dry spots and some open road to really test out the car. My buddy here, like I said, he's going to be the neutral person in this whole situation, see what he thinks about both cars. We are currently in pretty much the standard setup in the drive modes. Just kind of cruising at 80. Like I said, this car is 100% stock everything. So it's going to be a really good comparison to see exactly how the two cars compare. A completely stock 6.4 versus a modded 5.7. So once we get into a little bit of a drier spot, we're going to open her up a little bit, give her a couple rounds, see exactly how it feels for him. Again, this is his personal car. Ooh, C8. You see those like crazy around here in Florida. But yeah, we'll get a good opinion of exactly, you know, how he feels about his own personal car. Obviously, he's had it about a month and a half now. And then we'll hit the road in my car and see how he feels about that one, and then kind of come to a conclusion at the end. All right, guys, we found the sunny spot. You got to chase him around in Florida sometimes. So go into the drive modes. We'll put it into track mode, which will kind of be an advantage because my car doesn't have quote unquote an official track mode, if you want to call it that. This one has like an actual OEM 100% track mode. Mine is kind of like a, I don't want to say fake, but it like softens it up more than stiffening things up. But we do have the car in the track mode. And you know, give it a little quick hit, see exactly how it feels, how it sounds, see what the differences are. So just off that little rip, I can tell you that the power band in this car definitely feels a little more composed. Like I said earlier, my car's power band is definitely aimed more towards the mid-range and the higher end of the RPMs. This car can probably have a decent pull even from like below 3,000 RPMs, whereas mine needs to be about 3,500 RPMs. That being said, the track mode for the transmission shifting is pretty similar to where my transmission is, if not just slightly less of a bang, if you want to call it that. But that's only because my car's transmission was tuned. So they up in the shift pressure and the way that it, you know, gets into the gear and whatnot. But it does feel like almost exactly identical when it comes to shifting the gears. You have that like initial impact and it goes into the gears pretty good. Let's see a downshift on this thing. Let's see how quick it downshifts. Yeah. Yeah, the car feels great. And I'll tell you what, in comparison to my car, this car is super quiet and relaxed and calm. And you know, we're doing at one point like 120, 130, and you wouldn't even be able to tell it honestly other than the exhaust noise. But even that is very composed because, again, this car is 100% stock, whereas mine, especially when we get into the car, you guys will notice that I don't even have back seats. Like, it's just literally just, I don't want to say race car, but because race car. But yeah, it's just so comfortable. And even, you know, the suspension, like I was telling my buddy here just now, I have the exact same Bilstein kit from the Scat Packs. But it seems like they might have tuned out the spring rates or the recoil or something in the suspension, because this car going over, you know, road issues and bumps and, you know, just anything on the road feels really composed. I mean, you hit something and you can barely feel that anything's there. Whereas mine, again, with exactly the same kit, Bilstein system, exactly OEM shocks, exactly OEM springs, seems a lot stiffer. It seems like it hits something and it's more of a abrupt hit than anything else. But I'd be surprised to see if there's any differences in handling. I could imagine that once you start pushing this thing, it'll get a lot stiffer than what it is, just kind of comfortably cruising along. But yeah, this thing is so comfortable. It's honestly a new car, so obviously everything feels brand new, so fresh, so clean. It's nice and quiet, nice and comfortable. And like I said, we hit like 120, 130, which that's of course in kilometers, that's not miles per hour, because we are law-abiding citizens that do the speed limit no matter where we go. But if we were to be in Mexico, even if we were doing 120, 130, the car just feels so flat, so composed, so nice and comfortable. It's really quite a startling difference between this car and my car. And again, we're gonna have my buddy here drive the Cammed RT as well, to see what he thinks about it, and then I'll also drive the Cammed RT as well, give you guys an opinion as well. But yeah, the differences are pretty stark, but you know, the difference that we're really gonna notice might be in power. Again, this car on the top end really pulls really good, and mine seems to be more mid to upper range. But next time you see us, we will probably be in the Cammed RT, unless we, you know, decide to push it a little bit more on this one and have a little more fun. But talk to you guys in a bit. All right, guys, so we are back from the drive in the Scat Pack. Like I said, it's a really fun car to drive. There are some differences, but there are definitely some similarities. Visually speaking, I mean, like I said, they're both the same exact color. The only big differences you're going to see is obviously going to be the front bumper, the back bumper, the side moldings, and then obviously, of course, the... Whoops, I almost tore your door off. And then obviously, of course, the interior seats, which are similar fabric, same color. It's just they have the SRT padding as well as the Scat Pack logo. Outside of that, they're pretty identical in a lot of respects. Pretty similar cars, honestly. It's kind of weird how Dodge can keep the cars so familiar and so different at the same time. Because you can get into an SXT and it'll feel, in a lot of ways, very similar as well. And it'll look fairly similar. But yeah, now we're going to take a drive in the RT. And of course, this is the moment you guys have been waiting for. It's been a while since I did one. Guys, let's hit the road. All right, guys, so we are now in my vehicle, the Cammed RT, and we're gonna give it a little drive around, see how it feels, see if I notice any differences personally, and I'll have my buddy here give it a little bit of drive and see what he notices is different between the two cars. Right now we're in my setting, which is what I drive in normally. I keep the steering and track, everything else on street while I'm on the, you know, just cruising around, getting to work and whatnot. But when I am ripping on it, I do have everything pretty much sport mode, which I'll put it in now. And we'll give it a little hit here since this road is pretty open right now. obviously it is a fuck ton louder in here, because if you pan the camera back there, you will see that there's no fucking seats. Literally everything's gone back there. It's just straight through to the trunk. Why did I do that? Because race car, obviously, saving some weight. Jokes aside, it is to save some weight because these fucking things are heavy as can be. But also because I kind of do like hearing the exhaust note coming through from the back. It sounds good, honestly. Some people might find it annoying because it is loud. But hey, it's my car, right? That being said, giving it the couple of hits that I did, like I said earlier, the power difference is really just on where you get that peak hit. My buddy's car with the stock Scat Pack seems to hit the power pretty good throughout the whole range. Again, that's probably because it's stock and it's a 6.4 and it's OEM everything, you know, bigger motor, whatever. My car, because it has a cam that is aimed more towards the mid to top range, because that's what I wanted to aim for, to go to the track and get some decent times, does get better power when I'm like, say, 30, I'll say like 3,500 and above RPMs. And it does shift around 6,400 RPMs. The stock shifting point for a 5.7 is about 5,800. So we did raise that up a little bit because we were still making decent power after that stock rev limit. But other than that, as far as driving is concerned, I've personally never driven a Scat Pack. I've only driven a Hellcat before, which obviously is worlds away different than my car, or even the Scat Pack for that matter. But I would imagine that the difference as far as steering and all that is pretty similar. I do have the Scat Pack sway bars as well. But I will say that, I mean, maybe my buddy can chime in on it, but when I hit the same bumps that we were just on, because we're exactly on the same road that we were on before on the Scat Pack, my car feels a lot more, I don't want to say jarring because it's still pretty decent, but you can feel the bumps. Like it hits and it just like, it stiffens up pretty quick. Whereas his car is a little bit more comfortable, more composed, and, you know, more relaxed. So that's kind of weird. I feel like maybe Dodge decided to change the spring rates to make the car a little bit more appealing to maybe an older generation, or people that want something that's kind of, you know, neutral in how it feels in stock setting. But power-wise, like I said, power is just completely different across the board. I do feel like the Scat Pack pulls a lot harder after about like 4,500. But that's because, again, it's a 6.4, bigger displacement engine. I mean, you have so much more power there on tap. This definitely feels a little bit better on the mid-range compared to the Scat Pack. This will definitely like hit you hard. The Scat Pack, again, is just so well composed and so well tuned and so well built that it's just across the board just has a perfect feel. This is just rough around the edges, to say the least, because, again, the car is not stock. I have pretty much every bolt on you can think of. I didn't go crazy on the heads. This is just a very mild milling of the heads, but it's just stock heads, cam, all the top end stuff is redone with full bolt-ons. We have a little bit of an open road. Let's hit it from an 80. Yeah, this car lets you know that you are punching it. The Scat Pack in stock exhaust form is a lot more conformed and composed, and it sounds great for stock, but of course it's not that loud and it's not that in your face, which is great for most people, but I like loud, if you want to call it that, and this gives it to you. And I mean, even just the downshifts. Downshifts, like I was mentioning earlier, as far as the transmission is concerned, like I said, I don't have a track mode for the transmission. Mine maxes out at sport, but I do have the transmission tuned, which gives it that track mode kind of sense, if you want to call it that, because they do up the shift pressures, they do change the shift points, they do change a couple things on the way the transmission works. And again, the SRT 392 Scat Packs, they have exactly the same transmission, which, if I remember correctly, is the AHP70. That's exactly, yeah, AHP70 is on this, and then AHP90 is on the Hellcats. So it's exactly the same transmission, it's just different transmission tuning. But obviously, once I got mine tuned, it's like a track mode, except it's pretty much always on, as far as, you know, when I have it in sport mode. But like we did earlier, if I do a downshift, it's instant. And upshifts are instant too. I will say that that jarring feeling when you're in track mode in the Scat Pack is a little bit more of a punch than mine. Mine shifts just as quick, I want to say, but I feel like you feel it more on the Scat Pack. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but you definitely feel it more when it's shifting in track mode. But that being said, would I trade, let's say for example, hypothetically speaking, trade this in for a brand new Scat Pack and leave it stock? I don't know, man. I mean, you could find a Scat Pack for, you know, on a good day, maybe high 30s. If you know how to, you know, hassle your way through the dealership, I've seen them go for about 37, 38 out the door. I think for the most part, most people are paying about 40, 41, 42 in that ballpark. When I bought this car 3.5 years ago now, I bought it for $21,000 out the door. And the car only had about 20 some odd thousand miles on it. One owner vehicle, great condition when I got it. It's still in great condition, of course, but you know, I bought it for 21. I put in about, I want to say about 3,000 on top of that to do like the basic stuff, like the rear. I got the exhaust for stupid cheap. I went to Detroit and I got the Hellcat exhaust OEM for $350. So I got that super cheap. The headers were pretty decently cheap. So all in, full bullet tons was about $3,500, $4,000. And then when I went with the cam and everything else, that was an additional about $5,000, give or take a little bit, because we went, you know, new timing sets, new water pump. We did everything and anything we could think of to be just ahead of the maintenance records. So basically, I'm all in for about $30,000. I don't know, honestly, I don't know. I like the fact that I have that cam lobe and you have the loud exhaust note, and you know, it feels a little bit stiffer to drive, and it just overall feels more race car-y, if you want to call it that. But at the same time, it's nice that a Scat Pack already comes with exactly the same amount of power. Like I said, my car dynoed, non-weather corrected at 430. Stock Scat Pack dynos at about 430 as well, 440 on a good day. It's just really the power difference, how they like engage their peak horsepower, peak torque. That's really the biggest difference that I can see. And then obviously mine is a little bit more rougher on the edges because no back seats, louder exhaust. You might have a little rattle here and there if you're like super like wide open throttle, you know, things like that. Nothing overly annoying. Whereas the Scat Pack from the factory, I mean, it's fucking great. It's lovely. It's like a cloud, honestly. Like I said, we were doing 100 and some odd kilometers, of course, an hour in Mexico. And the car just felt completely just composed and flat and planted. And I at no point felt like the car was like, you know, out of whack. Granted, that's not to say mine feels weird at 130, 140. Not that it's ever been up there. But you could definitely feel the differences as far as comfort is concerned. But as far as comparing the two, I would say if you want something that is going to be a little more, I don't want to say visually, but more audibly and more just feeling like sporty and muscly and race car-y, if you want to call it that, by all means, you can find one of these decent miles. I think right now they're like at 20 or even below 20K with decent, you know, packages. And then you pop in maybe like 10K into them and you're at $30,000 out the door and you're putting down, you know, mid 400s to the wheels. But if you want something that's fast, just as fast, if not even faster, I would say, because I do feel that the Scat Pack, my buddy Scat Pack at the top end, would pull on me pretty decently. Scat Pack out the door, $40,000, $38,000. You spend a couple of dollars more, you get the comfort, you get the warranty on top of that, because that's the one big thing that a lot of people might be worried about. I obviously still have a warranty with the shop that did the work on the car, but I only have like a couple months left on it. So once that's done and something goes wrong, it's on me. Whereas my buddy here, I think he went with like a 6-year extended warranty. He's taken care of for as long as he owns the car. If something happens, he's just as fast, if not faster than me. And if something happens, the dealer will take care of it. He doesn't have to pay anything. So you have to weigh the pros and the cons of exactly how far you want to dive into it, and if you even have the time to deal with it. Because, you know, on my car, you're stuck on 93. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You will not get away with driving on 87 on this car. If you go wide open throttle on 87, and especially if you get some cheap stuff, I promise you're going to have a hole in your block. It's just tuned for that, it's built for that, and it sucks because right now gas is like $3. Whereas my buddy, you know, the SRTs are generally aimed to have at least, I think, 89 at the bare minimum. They run better on 93, but you can get away with 87 on that car because the car is built and designed and tuned to pull timing or add timing if it needs to compensate for, you know, any kind of knock retard or any pinging that the car might have because of the lower quality or lower octane fuel, sort of, if I'm talking about that. So you really have to weigh the pros and cons because honestly, it's not cheap to maintain a car that has some decent work to it. You're gonna beat on it. That's just it. You're gonna beat the living crap out of it. I take my car to the track pretty often. I think since I got the cam done, the car's been to the track at least a dozen times. A couple of times up in Jersey, a couple of times down here. So you know, things are gonna start to wear out faster. You're gonna have some more wear on your suspension and your control arms and your tires. I'm already on my second set of tires since I got the cam done. Had to buy more tires because obviously you're roasting them more because you want to do more burnouts, and obviously you're doing more driving and gripping on it more. But you're obviously also going to come across problems that you might not expect. That being said, I, knock on wood, haven't had any issues with my car, but you know, hopefully it stays that way and hopefully I don't have any issues. But that was kind of long-winded. I'm going to end it there. I might pop in a little bit again towards the end just to give you another pull on the car when we head back down towards my area. But let me know what you guys think. Like I said, Scat Pack versus a cammed RT is a really good comparison. Quarter mile as far as that's concerned, there might be some differences in timing, but I've raced a couple Scat Packs. They're really close, if not even, outside of the factory freaks, of course. And it's kind of hard to pass up. You know, you have the cam lobe, you have the great exhaust notes, you have, you know, the headers, you have all this stuff done to your car, whereas a stock Scat Pack is fast, and that's, you know, kind of where it ends. But at the same time, it's comfortable, it has a warranty, you know, it's a great car overall, and you can't beat that. So let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys on the next video. All right, guys, like I said, I was gonna give it another hit. Exhaust note never gets fucking old. I could literally drive at high RPMs all day and not get tired of it. Oh man. Yeah, just get the cammed one. Forget everything I said. Just get this one. Fuck that shit. It just sounds so good. Guys, see you guys on the next one.